that will go in a long way to satisfy the controller, and therefore some of the general purpose related inventions, I feel that except mathematical and business method, India is good for implementing or getting the grants for such applications. And the last is computer implemented and inventions are basically embedded. Wherever there is an embedded software or embedded computer program, I don't think I have seen controller have any issues. They may have issues related to inventive step, but not related to the patentability. Your question.
Thank you. That is, I can, from the European standpoint, I would fully agree that programs or software making the computer itself better, making it work in a different way, that as, for instance, operating systems should be patentable, and equally embedded software controlling machines or processes. There should be no problem.
Yeah. And in fact, I would like to say we also interact with the European Patent Office, and the business method, if it is combined with the computer, general purpose computer, we don't get the rejections because it is not patentable subject matter. But we get a rejection saying that there are non-technical features, there are technical features. Technical features are notoriously known. They are general purpose computers.
Yeah.
And therefore, there is no inventive step. The COMVIC order is what is the authority on that, and therefore they even don't search for it. So instead of eating like this, they eat like this.
Yeah.
So the rejection is not because of patentability, but it is because on the face of it, it is not inventive.
Inventive, yeah.
Yes.
No, but it's entirely the same approach as in Europe. Yeah.
Yes, that is the, no, this is not an Indian approach. I am saying that this is the European approach we are experiencing when we file in Europe. We are getting such rejections. Yes.
Okay, but in India you will get a rejection on
business method directly.
On business method.
Directly on the patentability.
Yeah. Is it entirely clear that the per se only applies to computer programs? I've also heard the opinion that it could be construed or interpreted to apply to everything, to all the exclusions.
Yeah. See, there has not been any jurisprudence by High Court or by Supreme Court. But in Yahoo case, IPAB has held, and I respect IPAB because in the bench, the chairman was the High Court judge. So she had that background of High Court, and she really looked at the various jurisprudence in the US, Europe, in terms of the business
the
methods.
Yahoo case has also decided by us in the
and there that per se, it is interpreted as it applies not to business method, and the plain English reading also says that it is only applicable to computer program per se, but you never know. If the judgment comes, you and I will enjoy that judgment. Yes.
Okay. Now we are already quite far in the time. Possibly what might be interesting for the audience, could you give some advice, some tips with respect to the internal handling in the office? How are CIIs handled, and maybe also with respect to how, what are the disclosure requirements for such applications? How must claims be formulated?
Okay. So I will divide this question into two questions. First is that what is the internal mechanism of the patent office? We have 4 patent offices, and they are located in different regions. Although they are supposed to follow certain practices, there are slight differences between the patent offices, because there are groups, and this is basically the groups related to computer inventions is headed by one person. So generally you will have uniformity within the patent office, but there cannot be guaranteed that there will be uniformity across the patent office. The scheme of the thing is that the Patent Act stipulates, as per section 13, that examiner will conduct the investigation. The word is investigation. So examiner is made responsible for investigating and ascertaining whether certain claims are anticipated or not. So he prepares his report, and as per section 12, he also will investigate whether there are other conditions of the Patent Act has been met. For example, have you submitted proof of right or not? So all these formalities, as per section 12, he will find it out and present his report. So he will only make a report to the controller. The controller is expected to go by the section 18, 19, 16, 15, 14. These are the sections where controller can apply his mind and accordingly act. Section 18 and 19 stipulates that how the controller's document, which are considered to be anticipating, are to be given a substantive meaning there, whether it should be accepted really as anticipating, or the burden of proof is shifted on to the applicant to say that it is not anticipating. All these things is in the hands of the controller. And ultimately, it is section 15 which gives him the power to give the objections. So the objections or the first examination report is always given by the controller. So we have two authorities, examiners and the controller. Whenever the hearing is given by controller. The examiner may be sitting side by side, but it is the examiner to whom you address all your responses. So this is one. Saying said, what are the differences among different offices, particularly computer related inventions, which I have found out? And this is purely based on the experience. Some controllers are okay if you do the system claim, but they are not okay with the method claim. So you may get a situation where they will say that, okay, I am satisfied that this goes through the objection of section 3K, but why don't you remove method claim? Why? No, system is good, you should be happy, this will satisfy your requirement. They still feel that method is too broad and limitations of processor and memory are really superficial. So this is one view. The second view is that don't claim system, claim only methods. I think some kind of maturity will come over the years, and I hope that this disparity will go. But when you are able to argue and convince, many times we have been able to change their minds. But this is one difference that we find it. What was your second question? Yeah, again, this is related to the second difference. Many controllers are not very satisfied with the functional description of the claim. For example, module to do this, or a particular means for doing certain things.